I'm sitting here with the co-founder and CEO of Nomad, Noah Dentzel. Noah, good morning.
Good morning, Harvey.
Yeah, how you doing?
Doing good. Good to be here.
Good. We're here to talk about Apple Watch. This is the 10-year anniversary of Apple Watch this year. So I want to hear, you're the guy that's probably the most familiar with the program here at Nomad.
Yeah, it's kind of mind-blowing to think it's 10 years ago that they and we both released our Apple Watch products. And more than that we began working on them because Apple actually originally unveiled the watch in, I think it was September 2014, and began shipping in spring, about this time 10 years ago. And we were there at launch with two products. I have them here, the stand for Apple Watch, beautiful charging stand, first one of its kind. And actually, kind of surprises me we pulled this one off. The first portable power for Apple Watch. So you had to wrap the puck in there, but this was the first portable power unit for Apple Watch.
On the market.
First one on the market, and we had it available at launch.
Wow.
We launched it more or less the same time, and we were scrambling for production and everything. And
can you tell me a little bit about what was going through you and Brian's heads when Apple Watch was announced and going to be launched, and your guys' process and deciding to make the products that you ended up making?
Yeah, so like many things Apple, there's rumors and speculation, and we partake in both. There were some thoughts that Apple might be doing something in the smartwatch space in 2014, perhaps even before. We had already been discussing from 2013 that we wanted to do something for smartwatches. Pebble was a really well-known smartwatch that had launched on Kickstarter a year or two previously. It was clear that this space was developing and it was interesting, and that while the phone, mobile device had sort of developed all the way to the phone, that it wasn't necessarily done developing, and that the smartwatch had a lot of potential. So we were ready for it. And when they announced it, we knew instantly that we were going to build for it in 2014. And that's how we were able to move quickly enough to put some really good design energy, not just to make something like we're there at launch product, but to make some products we really believe in. Because if you're going to do that, you need time to design and to develop and to build out for the production.
So you started with charging like this. When did you know that you guys wanted to launch a band for the Apple Watches?
It's funny because in hindsight, you look at what we've been doing, and a lot of our most exciting, innovative, amazing design stuff has been with bands in recent years. And we have some really amazing bands in development right now. But at launch, like you said, it was charging. And when I was just thinking about this the other day, I almost had to laugh, thinking like, why did we do that when asked the question? And we were a charging company at that time. Our first product was the charge card and the charge key, so hyper portable charging. So for us, when we would be staying up late, drinking $2 Chuck, just getting drunk on ideas. And I've always thought it's important to get drunk on ideas, because sometimes when you're doing something early, you need to get that energy and belief, and you need to, at a time when everyone's saying, 10 reasons why Apple Watch will fail, this or that, you need to have that boldness to go, no, we're putting our heels in the ground. We believe in this thing. So at that time, we were very focused on charging. So to us to be there first, it was sort of natural. But it's not only that. We didn't know about the watch. We had to speculate. I remember a piece of information got released from like an Australian government public filing that Apple had about the packaging, something, the insert about the cable or something. It was some of the first released information about the cable, and it was like, it looks the same size as the regular cable. It has the little puck. So any bit of information that we could get was just like, it's incredibly valuable. And so the lugs, we didn't know much about it. We maybe saw an image or this or that, but we didn't know the mechanism. So if we're going to be there at launch, how could we speculate and get close enough? I mean, we would go into tooling and then refine that once we got a little bit more information on the actual puck size. So we actually had everything ready to go, and then we refined it once we could get an initial watch. And I think we even got an initial watch, perhaps it was in Hong Kong, if I'm remembering correctly, which kind of in a weird way launches almost a day before. So it's like, okay, because they're a day ahead. Can we somehow get our eyes on it, or looking at the initial videos that are released or whatever it may be. So those two things, both that we were kind of a charging company and that it was a more accessible way to design and develop, led us to those. And while most of our stuff in recent years has been bands, we did just launch this incredible cable this year, and we're the first ones to do this, the universal cable for Apple Watch. So those early seeds, they're still sprouting.
Yeah, it's cool to see that the innovation in the charging is coming back, and I mean, that cable is such a great cable, so it's cool that that's sort of come full circle. You said that you guys really wanted to be early at launch for Apple Watch, but I know that when Apple Watch launched so long ago, it had a lot of doubters. A lot of people didn't think it was going to be a big product at all or successful. Can you tell me a little bit about, like, what was that like, building products for a new product that didn't really have anything else to compare it to other than Pebble on the market?
We took a big leap with Apple Watch. There was a lot of negative energy and sentiment. It's hard to realize that now, but when something's new and you're investing from our very limited resources, we were a really young company at the time. We had been through a really tough financial period. This was an opportunity for us. Can we be there? Can we build ourselves from the beginning of this category? So we had such conviction. We had some great, I'll never forget staying up late, like I mentioned, chatting with Brian, and we went through the whole process. We were just getting like, okay, where the phone, the history of it, and the grandfather phone on the wall, and then getting to here. But when you look back in the 1950s and you look at comic books and stuff, how are they communicating? Communicating like this. So this is sort of the thing that we kind of thought we might have all along, and it's like Apple's actually doing it. And then, of course, they launch, and they do this incredible job, the first one, which later became the Series 0. And there's still doubters. And I'm thinking, do you guys remember the first iPhone? It didn't have 3G. There were like no apps. It didn't have, I don't think it had a flash. It had, it was so limited in so many ways. But it was revolutionary. The first Apple Watch was potentially even better than that, relatively speaking. It was a great product. So when we saw it, we were validated in this risk that we were taking. And I'm in a weird, funny way, I'm kind of eternally grateful to all those doubters, because some of the legacy players, they look and they see, oh, that new category. Well, let's see if it has legs to it, and then we'll come in. Well, we were able to build our legs early with it, while they were gearing up and evaluating. I remember some Forbes article or something, 10 reasons that Apple Watch will fail. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, we're financing the company off our Apple Watch sales. So these articles were phenomenal. We don't need to see that to validate what we're doing. So, and it goes to as well our mission here. We build products we believe in. So we believed in what we were doing, and it was really nice to get 2 home runs out of the park. That allowed us to really invest. That same year, 2015, we launched the Pod Pro, which had an integrated lightning cable in it, which is really cool. It's an MFI product. And we launched our first bands for Apple Watch as well later that year. They were admittedly a bit generic at first. Those ones we wanted to get that category going, but they allowed us to invest and pave the way into custom lugs and all this incredible stuff that we're still doing to this day.
Yes, it sounds like you guys knew from the get-go that you wanted to make bands for Apple Watch as well, but it's hard to do in the beginning when you don't know the device data, and you have to learn about what the product is and a little bit more about the space, especially with something that's so specific as the lug details. So then you guys stepped in and you launched the first leather band. How did you know that was the route that you guys wanted to go? Lugs, leather, everything.
So leather is a wonderful material. It's got a lot of different aspects of it, and of course, different leathers and so forth. There's an aspect to it, the product team's gonna give me a hard time, but there's an aspect to it where it can be somewhat easy to work with, to iterate with. You can imagine dealing with a piece of leather, cutting it out, the stitching. These are things that we can do and work with to get live quickly. There's a big question of as well, the Apple Watch, and where does it sit within watches themselves, right? So bringing this new piece of technology, giving it some of this age-old classicness that might come with a more classic watch. And for a lot of people, they're trying to understand, where does the Apple Watch fit with, my Swiss watch or my Japanese watch or my classic watch. So what we wanted to do is make it fit right in with, this is on your wrist, this is part of your dress, this is part of your look, this is part of your vibe. It doesn't need to be sort of a piece of kind of, cold or a plasticky thing. Let's do something nice. Let's create options for that. We launched a sport band relatively soon in this all as well, and that's a huge important category for us. It's an incredible fitness device, and we wanted to do that. And then we launched hybrid leather sport bands, all kinds of stuff. In fact, one of our coolest things yet is upcoming in a related category. So we're still working on that stuff. But leather felt natural to us to help bridge the gap between traditional watches and modern watches. When you think about the watch as well, everyone has the same Apple Watch, well, more or less the same one. So the band is a really huge opportunity for where you can personalize it. So in your traditional watch, the band doesn't really matter that much, because the watch that's your personality. That's where you express yourself, and you chose this one or that one, or the big one or the small one or the fancy one or the sleek one. With Apple Watch, the band is where all of that lives. So giving people options. So it wasn't just about leather, but that was a great way to get live, but giving people options to express their personality and their identity. And what we did as well is we actually invested a lot in these materials. We made some incredibly nice bands, and we continue to this day, because we found that if we put a lot of work into every detail, people really truly appreciate that. And if this watch is representing what might be a fancy classic watch they're wearing, they're happy to invest in the best bands for it, the best materials.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's cool to see too that you guys launched with your first iteration of the leather band, but then immediately began working on a custom design that was a little bit less generic. And we've been using those lugs since they launched. Those, they've sort of become known in the industry. So when Apple Watch launched, like I said, there were a lot of doubters, but you guys had conviction. I'm curious why you think the Apple Watch is a great product.
So I've had pretty much every edition of the Apple Watch from the zero, maybe skipping one along the way. And it's incredible to see how powerful it's grown, what it can do. The independence, the more app autonomy, so to speak, that an app can do these things independent of the iPhone. When we look at technology in our modern lives, we see technology creep. All of a sudden you have your iPhone, your iPad, your Apple Watch, all these things. It's like, hold on a second, let me, sometimes you need to be free of this. I've found that it's the way that we use these tools. Don't bring an iPhone out on a first date, or don't be texting during a job interview, right? These are tools, and it's up to how we use them. At the same time that they can disrupt us, they can actually free us. So for me, as Apple Watch gets more functionality, it can allow me to free myself from my phone. I'm a really heavy phone user. Too much, I'm always on it. But what if I leave the phone in the car and I'm going on a hike, or I'm going out on the water? With the Apple Watch, my wife's happy because she knows that it's safety. She can get in touch with me, or I can call out for help if something happens. And if I'm on that hike, maybe I have an urgent call that might happen. So I want to have a way to get in touch with. But you know what? I don't need my other 300 apps, and I don't need to get sucked into the wormhole of the phone. So the watch can actually be freeing. I have a friend of mine who's a doctor, and she and I are both wing foilers, which is kind of like windsurfing. And for her, she has to have the Apple Watch. Like, a lot of people in the medical profession have it, but it's kind of replaced the pager. So for her to be free to go out in wing foil, the Apple Watch allows her to do that. So she doesn't have to be tethered to shore. So it's incredible freeing to people like that. And everyone has their different version of what that means. And so weirdly, as the watch has become more powerful, it's also more freeing. And I appreciate that Apple's recognized that. We see with their focus modes and notifications, strict notification settings and so forth. They understand that they've really crept into our lives. And there are ways to mitigate that and ways to even grow out of that. And so I think that this is, in this year 2025, this is something that many of us are dealing with and struggling with. And I see people who might be like, I don't want that on my wrist. And my interesting retort to them is kind of like, or could it actually help you kind of put this away a little bit more, but you have the comfort of the connectedness and the good things that we want. You have that here for safety if you need it. So, and to me as well, the battery length just getting longer has been huge.
Yeah, I know. And around the office, we call you a power user of pretty much everything that Apple makes. But when it comes to Apple Watch, one of the issues is that they've always had a short battery life, and you're someone that might forget to charge, or you have it running all the time, you're using it a lot. So what setup are you working with right now in your day? Like, what's your daily drive for Apple Watch? And
Great question. Yeah, I charge with the Stand 1 Max overnight. So I wake up charged every day. We actually have one of these, the Universal Cable Apple Watch, in our car. It's really great because then it puts an Apple Watch charger like mount in your car. But as you know, I don't drive most days. So at my desk, I also have a Base 1 Max. So I am surrounded by chargers. But what I've found incredibly helpful and really powerful is this. So I can charge everything with this. I can charge my Apple Watch from my phone. You can do that with any Apple Watch cable, but this will do pass through. So I can also be charging the phone, which is nice. So so this thing is absolutely incredible. And keeping the watch charged, especially with the longer battery life, is allows you to then have the freedom to get through a day or two. If you were to be, when you are untethered from your phone, it does use more battery. And people who untether from their phone know that. When you go out on the water or whatever you do, if you really go away from the phone, it burns more. So that is something that Apple's obviously working on, and it's a lot. And I think that as they add more battery life, it gives you more untethered length. So yes, it has maybe a 2-day battery length, but it is kind of all about how much untethered battery length you have. And I think that as that increases, we're going to see more of the benefits of the autonomy that come from the Apple Watch as you can separate it. Because if you're just stacking this with that, then it is a lot of technology and so forth. But if you can separate them periodically as you need to, that's when it can become more freeing.
Okay, so we touched on kind of the early stages of Apple Watch bands at Nomad, and that happened with the leather band and pre-2020 and whatnot. I'm curious to hear, what did you think about when the Ultra launched and sort of the explosion in popularity of some of our Apple Watch products?
Yeah, so when we had kind of our first wave out of the gates, and then that went on for some years. When Ultra launched, it was like it was Apple Watch launch all over again. We had our original sport band from some early days, and we had recently come out with our updated sport band. This one was silicone. This one is FKM fluoroelastomer, really wonderful, really great material. And it was just a bonanza when Ultra launched. We immediately sold out of a bunch of our units. We couldn't keep things in stock, and we also started doing some of our first limited editions. I think our first one was High Volta, which was kind of a wild color, and it sold out immediately. Our orange, our ultra orange, our electric blue. It was so reinvigorating, and it really was validating, because all of a sudden these things that we had been investing in from the beginning, it's like, oh, okay, the real naysayers are like, oh, okay, now it's good. Well, when you're at the beginning of something, you don't look at the Series 0 and think, oh, that's the end all. We always think like, what is the 3rd edition? What is the 4th edition going to look like? With the Apple Vision Pro, it's really impressive what they launched. Okay, what's the 3rd edition going to look like, and how are we going to use that? So you don't want to wait for that to happen and then show up. You don't want to wait for the party to get started and for the club to be completely full to then get in the end of the line. You got to go early and get some good bar space, right? So we'd established ourselves, and the funniest thing happens. Like, so we have in our little returns bin right over there, as you know, we have a little box of fakes. So it's really, there's something endearing. I think it was Da Vinci or Dali or whatever. That's something about how, you know, it's a compliment to be copied. It is a compliment. We've been complimented a lot on Amazon and by some other brands in the space. You know, I generally have a lot of respect for people who are doing cool stuff and innovating, but there's people who have pretty much straight up copied us. And what they'll do is, what's really funny is people will buy knockoffs of our bands, and they will then buy our band, return the knockoff in our packaging. As soon as you touch it, you can feel it because the material is so different. And it has this sort of cheap gumminess to it. And it's something endearing about that. People are committing small-scale fraud to get our bands because they love us that much. So with Sport Band, we started to see more and more copycats. And we realized we're going to keep on building out limited editions and improvements, but we need to constantly be developing as well. So the next big band that we launched was developed specifically for the Ultra. So it's a little bit bigger, a little bit more robust, a little bit wider. And this is our Rocky Point band. Funny story is Rocky Point was an internal name for it. We have internal names, and usually we come up with the public name, and we actually kept the internal name for that one. So fun little Easter egg there. But what we saw is that what we knew is that we always need to be developing things we believe in, not just launching something for the sake of it. So when you look forward, you see that we have some gaps. We're always finding gaps that we need to fill. Like we have this one and that one, but not the one in between those two, or not the one that comes next. So one of our coolest bands ever, probably what I think might be our best band ever, is in development and launching later this year. As you well know, been working so diligently on it. And I think when people see that, and they see the company that did this 10 years ago is still doing it today. We're not just, you know, collecting checks on some work from a long time ago and trying to say, we were there. No, we were there. We planted a seed, but we've been watering it, and we're still watering it. And I think as well, we have an opportunity to build more stuff for more amazing bands for women. And I think that is a really, you know, that's a challenging bar. And we need to do something that's gonna, you know, look good in the get up and complement the outfit and work for their demanding lifestyle. So how do we do all that in an Apple Watch band? By a company that admittedly, you know, has more of a sort of, has developed more of a guy vibe. So we see that as a challenge and an opportunity, and we have a really cool update in the works there. So as much stuff as we've done over the years, we see really important opportunities, and we're working on them with the same commitment to quality, to materials, to design, and having a little fun along the way as well.
Definitely. Yeah. How do you see going forward? I mean, I know that you have a ton of conviction in Apple Watch now, and you have since the beginning. How do you see Apple Watch going forward, and how do you see Nomad fitting in alongside it in people's lives?
I think Apple Watch is going to continue to build out the core areas that really matter. So some of what people are looking for is not 10 more features, but better battery life. You know, one of the key shortcomings in an Apple Watch compared to something like a Garmin is battery life. And so those are areas where I think those help win over some of the extreme athletes or the heavy, real power users. So that's an important thing. I think, as I touched on before, but that autonomy, as it gets more autonomy, there's some key little features where certain apps, it's like, oh, I can't use that one without the phone. So for when you take a bunch of people and how they use the watch, everyone probably has a deal breaker right now. Oh, I can't, I think you used to be able to order an Uber from the watch. I'm not sure if you still can. They may have removed that feature. Maybe it's come back already or is coming back. But that's the type of thing where I'm like, well, I can't be without my phone if I'm out for the night. I need a way to get home. So I kind of need the phone. So as it gains autonomy for these situations, then it starts to become a replacement for the phone. Not a one-to-one replacement, but a situational replacement. So I think that they still have a ways to go for that, and I think that they've been working on it, and things like battery life is really important for cellular. So the battery life goes down a lot when you're on LTE. You think of it as a really big battery life because when you're tethered, it's using the phone cellular. So this is sort of a mothership in the little ship, the Apple Watch. It does have an LTE, but it's really demanding on power. So I think they're getting there with technological developments, both on the battery side and on the software side and on the carrier side, as you have more investment in networks that are more available signal requiring less power draw. So these are important things. Something that's wild is that the new iOS or watchOS has the satellite feature. So you truly can go off grid with Apple Watch, and you can, I don't know if you've used the feature, but sending a message remotely. So it's really building the ability to become more untethered, but I think they still have a ways to go.
Do you have a favorite story from a customer about using one of our Apple Watch bands or one of our Apple Watch charging products?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of one that comes to mind. Anytime I see someone out in the wild with our band, I sometimes will chat with them. I often don't, and I'll poke my wife or she'll poke me and go, "Hey, look, he's wearing a band." Well, then we'll sort of check him out. Be like, "Okay, what kind of shoes are they wearing? You know, what kind of this?" And it's fun to see like these. We always say we started on Kickstarter, so our customers mean the world to us. And when we see them out and about, and we look at them and we're like, "That looks like a cool guy. Like, look at that awesome lady over there," you know. And seeing that they're with their style and their gravitas, their everything they have, they're rocking our band, and it's just like, I'm so proud. So there's not one particular one that comes to mind. Recently, I saw a guy who's sort of a famous economist in town here, based in Santa Barbara, a professor at UCSB, and he was rocking our orange case and our ultra orange band, and at lunch with his family, with his like wife and his grandkids, and I was just like, look at that. That's cool to see. I did chat with that guy, and he was so stoked and on the products. And often if I see them around town, often they don't even know that Nomad's from Santa Barbara. They're like, "Oh wait, this is from here? I didn't even know that." So that's always a fun moment.
Who's the most famous person that you've seen wear one of our bands?
So Barack Obama was in an Instagram photo that Michelle Obama posted about saying happy birthday. I woke up one morning and I get a message from our Norwegian retail account. And, you know, it's like 8 in the morning or something. And I see a picture, I see an Instagram post that he sent me. And it's like Barack Obama. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, cool." Like, and then I'm looking and I'm like, "Oh my God, he's wearing the Nomad band." I think it was our rugged band, and that was pretty exciting. You know, the leather that we use is famous. It's a 5th or 6th generation tannery, and it's used on, among other things, NBA basketballs, NFL footballs, and on when you become president, they give you like 6 pairs of shoes or something, and they have Horween leather on them. So now we can say that it's on the president's shoes and on their wrists.
Nice. It's a good story. So we've talked a lot about all the history of Apple Watch products at Nomad, and in the 10 years, we've launched a ton of products now, but obviously not all of them have been super successful and gone over without a hitch. Can you talk about some of the issues that we've faced and overcome and what we're still working on?
Yeah. So over the years, we've had a couple quality issues. Early on, we in our rush to be first in the band space in 2015 or so, in 2015, we had a couple issues with the lugs. We didn't have Loctite on there. The screws would come undone. The spring bars were not strong enough. If you use the watch a lot, it would universally pop off your wrist, which is not good. So that would happen to actually most most people. So we called it Strapgate. I'll never forget when I was chatting with our office cleaner, and she, she's always been a proud user of the products, and she was using an Apple Watch actually, and she's like, Noah, my band popped off, and it happened to me twice. And sometimes when you spot a pattern, you see like, wait, that happened to me, happened to you as well. Customer complained about it. It's when you start to connect these dots and you realize this is a serious issue, because issues happen. There's isolated cases or incidents or a production run or even this or that or whatever. That's normal. We realized that it was big. I'll never forget as well when a customer called me, and we hear all sorts of stories, so have to be skeptical. He had purchased the $17,000 gold Apple Watch. And I was sort of doubting that at first. Are they trying to get like us to pay for it or something? It was an older guy. The more I chatted with him, I could tell that it was legitimate. And he explained the whole thing to him, and his gold $17,000 Apple Watch fell and got a scratch on it. Fortunately, being the well enough to do guy that could afford that watch, we chatted about it. He saw that we were honest and genuinely like working on it and fixing it, and of course immediately offered a new band, an updated fixed one. And he was super chill. He didn't try to get anything out of us, and it was a good lesson that we're building things for people's watches, $17,000 or not. This is an important thing that they're spending their hard-earned money on, and we need to really make sure that it doesn't come off. So when you look, that was probably 9-10 years ago. When you look today, we've actually, when they launched the Ultra, the edge that the lug goes into is a steeper edge, and it's a really hard material, titanium. So when we put our watch bands in, when you put them in a bunch, it abrases that, and it can clip the lug ramp. That's the little plastic thing that locks in the lug. And so it doesn't happen to everyone all the time. It's happened to me. It's happened to a lot of our customers. I think it's happened to you.
Oh yeah, I know this problem well.
So it's a challenge, because there was a design change to the rugged, or to the Ultra that made that happen. So we've taken that to heart, and we know that we've let some customers down, and we hate that. So we've actually already improved that, and we're launching shortly an upgrade, and have an even stronger upgrade coming in shortly after that. So we take these things to heart, and we improve things. If you have an issue with us at some point, we totally understand. We back our products. We have if you can reach out to support, we're going to make sure to right the wrong and give another opportunity to see what we've got going on, and we're always improving. So I'm stoked with where we're heading with that. So we can constantly be a leader and be best in class, best in category, and hold up to our product promise. And we're always working to improve that. We're never finished.
Yeah, I know as a product manager on the team for Apple Watches, we're always trying to work on new products, but honestly, at the end of the day, like half of our jobs is often improving the products that we've already launched. So, I mean, it's nice to hear from you. It's deeply ingrained in the product team as well. So I know that from my side, we're always trying to improve this so that the customers can keep coming back and keep getting a better product.
So on that note, I have to throw you and Product Squad a shout out. So this is such a complex product. There's so much going on here. When I got an early unit last year, I started testing the hell out of it. And with all that's going on here, I would imagine there'd be a corner case. Either it would break, or it wouldn't work in a certain situation, or it would degrade, or it would just do something weird. Sometimes there's like weird things that you can't fully understand, and you're like, I swear, like when you do this and that in a certain order, something weird happens, and you can't replicate it, but you know it's there. It's worked so well. And so a shout out to Sean, the product manager on this one. It's just such a complex product that we did so well, and everything about it's amazing. It holds up so well, and it does so many things. You can charge your AirPods and your Apple Watch from your iPhone at the same time. It's the only cable in the world that does that. It's the single best cable for the Apple ecosystem. And sometimes when you add so much capability, you can have issues. So I'm just blown away. And I think this shows you that we're committed to really cool concepts, really cool products, but also to testing and to building them out so they hold up to the demands of real world usage. And there's nothing stronger than real world usage. And I always say, always be testing, and we're always testing things. And I think as much of a power user as I am, our customers are going to beat me to that. So whatever we can do to learn from them and improve is fundamental to our product program.
Totally, yeah. To the customers, if you guys have issues or use cases, reach out to our customer service team. We read them personally and try and make improvements based off that.
Hey, great to be here.
Yeah, Noah, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all my questions.
Yeah.
You have any questions for me?
What are you most excited about? You're leading up Apple Watch.
We've got a big launch. By the time this airs, it's probably going to be launched, but really exciting stuff coming to Rocky Point over the next couple months. And then we've got 3 new bands, whole new bands that we're launching this year too. So I'm really excited about that. I think we're gonna fill some spots some gaps in our product lineup, like you've talked about. Start servicing some new markets and update some old products with some new life. So really excited about those.
So I'm about 10 years older than you. We're both born in February. You in 98, me a couple years before that. Is there a generational thing in how we use Apple Watch? So my question is, what are the top things you actually use your watch for? Would you say, like in a real world usage, just how are you using it?
Yeah, I'd say there's 2 like main things that I use the watch for. One is for sleep tracking. Like every night I charge my watch before bed. I put it on and fall asleep, and I that's really important to me when I wake up because it makes such a big impact on my day. And then the other one is just activity tracking. So like if I'm in the gym or if I'm on a hike or going for a run, those are the 2 main things. I mean, it's great as a watch, but personally, I've turned off most of my notifications. I've removed most of the apps. So I like it to be a little bit more removed and not feel like a phone on my wrist. But for like the health aspects of it, that's for sure how I use it most.
If you could add one feature to Apple Watch that's conceivable, right? Not sci-fi. Perhaps it would not available yet, but coming in the coming years. But a conceivable feature that they could do that would be legal and permitted as well. And I say that because I don't know if a camera is ever coming, because there's something private about the watch. If you're in a locker room or something, you wouldn't want people taking photos. So a conceivable feature that you would like, what would that be?
Yeah, I've got 2. I know they're working on one of them, which is like a blood glucose level measurement. Who knows when that'll come out? Hopefully at some point. I think that'd be great just for health tracking. I think it's super important to people and it's growing in popularity. The other one I would love is like a paper-like screen mode. So
like
you could turn it onto a mode where it uses a lot less power. Yeah. It's not pushing notifications and stuff, and it really is just for health tracking. And you could use like the activity monitoring. I think that'd be great if you could get more battery life out of it too. So you could, I mean, this thing the Ultra lasts for about 72 hours now, but if you could make that like 5 days, I think that'd be great.
Right on.
Yeah. The other thing that I think is really, really important about Apple Watches now is, there's a use case for me where I can monitor my health and whatnot, which is great. But for my parents who are starting to get a little bit older, I think it's more and more important for Apple Watch for them, because health monitoring at that age is really important. And then also just communication. And if anything ever happens to them, Apple Watch is like a really, really great safeguard for older people. So I want to get both of them on it. I haven't convinced them yet, but soon enough, they will be rocking one.
In 2015, when it had just launched as well, people were still understanding what are the use cases, who uses this? And I started, you'd always expect, oh, well, the Apple fanboys and stuff. Sure, they were users. I started to notice baristas, flight attendants, people who are working but might want a way to check in and see if they have an important message from their kid. So there's a lot of people who their job means that they can't just like check in on iMessage or something. So one of the other use cases I saw was this older couple that lived across the street from us. We were in a house office at the time, and they were in their 70s, and they were both super Apple Watch fans. And I was like, wow. I remember my sister pointing that out to me, and we were talking about it, and how sometimes the way that you think a product will be used can be different than the way it's actually used. And I think that health and health monitoring for older folks is really important. My dad used an Apple Watch a few years ago, stopped using one, and now I think he's going back to one. He had a little health scare. So it's interesting to see that journey.
For sure. Any questions for Nick? Behind the camera? Nick, any questions for us? No? I think that's a wrap.